Hi, well, I just want to say a little bit about what I've been doing with a B1On pedal that I got recently. If you've been following my videos, I already have the B1X4, the G1X4, which it turns out are essentially the same pedal. How do I know that? Well, you have to stand on the shoulder of giants, and here you see with what Barzik has been doing, he was working on how to pull out from the firmware update files information about the Zoom pedals and how you can inject other effects from other pedals in the series that are compatible. Manuel took this a stage further where he was trying to do this rather than editing at the physical file level, doing it via MIDI commands so you can pull out the catalog directly from the pedal and manipulate. And then I've been collaborating with him on some additional things I found from the way I've been reverse engineering the Zoom, and I put that on the internet somewhere. And now with the B1, you have the G1 on which sysex tones had looked at some while ago, and there's some useful information here, pretty good stuff. He just that what Munchel does is like what I do with the MIDI devices I've got. MIDI comes as 7-bit values, and most synthesizers want more than that. So when you read the sysex in, you decode it and unpack it effectively. And that's what I do, what Munchel does. So it doesn't look like sysex tones has done that. So some of his numbers are out. Some of the manipulations he does are far more complex than they need to be. But that's no criticism. It's a fact that he's just doing things differently. And what I'm trying to do is to collect the information so we can pull it. I've got my camera on it. This camera doesn't focus very well, so that's the best I can do. Currently I have a Syn base. All I want to say about the pedal is I actually really like the B1On. I think I prefer it to the B1X, apart from the fact that the B1X has got the pedal, B1X4 rather, and it looks slightly nicer. Few more buttons, but I think that the capabilities of the B1 G1 on is a little bit understated. 100 patches rather than 50. They just sound better. What I will be doing as I decode it is trying to recreate some of those patches with compatible effects on the G1 B1 X4 to see whether they sound the same. Just as a slight aside, I'm from the 80s. There, MIDI was given away for free, as in the sysex implementation, and it was part of. I mean, Dave Smith created the system back in late 70s, gave it away to the world for free. We're still on version 1. It was that good. It was designed to stop having to plug control voltages in to make patch synthesizers work. But if you are of a certain age, very young, you'll see this is coming back with Behringer's ARP 2500, 2600 clones. Um, so it was meant to be given out. You're not supposed to do what we're doing here to reverse engineer it. It's just fun. Anyway, without further ado, let's look at this B1 pedal. So what I did was I took all of the stuff from the G1, from the B1X, and I then started to work things out. So one of the first things is like identify. Oh yeah, the other thing of note is it uses the mini USB, not the micro USB. And I'm old, I have a load of those around. So run the identifier and it says, oh, hello, you're 65 in hexadecimal. Yeah, I assume you know hexadecimal. If you don't, make a comment in the comments and I'll try and tell you how it works. And the other thing I noticed from this one, which I hadn't noticed in the other ones, but now it makes sense, this one in ASCII is telling me 1.21, yeah? So that's the version of the firmware. And now I realize I've learned more about the versions of the firmware in my other pedals. Let's put these guys out of the way. I just wanted to make sure I gave them credit up front because it's standing on the shoulder of giants here. I'm not doing this all by myself, yeah? Um, so what we normally do is we have a editor mode on, to edit on, and I'm turning it into sentences. It's not that I can't write programming language, it's just I prefer to do this, use shell scripts. So as I publish them, anybody with a Raspberry Pi can play along if they want. You don't need any programming knowledge to play along. If you want to modify it, you need to know how shell scripts work, but that's not too hard, and there's no compilation, it's all interpreted. And what the editor mode on does is if I start playing with the knobs on the front of the system, it will do stuff, and if I send commands, it respond. So let's check let's get this out of the way, sorry. Let's check the most basic of things. Let's turn the PC mode on. PC mode is when the pedal um, goes into a USB transfer mode. It takes a lot longer on this machine. You see, when I pushed it, keep connection to PC. And this is where you could send, as Munchwell did, commands if you know them. that say, hey, would you give me your file table? Hey, would you give me the information? And it doesn't always work. I'm trying to get that at the minute, but that's how we think they're doing it. Then you can turn the PC mode off. There's a bypass mode, so let's turn that on. Did that work? Hang on. LS, maybe it's tuner mode. Maybe I'm making this stuff up. Tuner mode on. No, let's hit bypass mode on again. Ah, there we are. Okay, for some reason you have to hit it up. So now it's gone, and it's different to the B1X. It's like a central thing, and it works quite well actually. I think it's pretty cool. But you don't have, like you have on the B1X, you don't have the ability to move off 440 hertz A, or at least I don't know how to. So maybe I just got to hit that again, and then eventually it goes off. No, okay. Maybe I got to hit bypass mode off. I don't know. I only wrote the stuff. What does it do? Okay, I don't know what. Maybe I have to write identify. Maybe I have to write editor mode on again because sometimes it seems to lose itself, and then bypass mode off. Okay, let's turn PC mode on and off because that'll do it. It's kind of crazy, but PC mode off. Will that do it? PC mode on. Yeah. Now go to PC mode off. Okay, so this isn't the right way to do it, but you get the idea. So one of the kinkiest things I did, and I think it is quite kinky, and I'll try and explain it. Hang on, ls exercise FX param. So we have the same FX MPN. It's the same sort of idea as on the other Zoom pedals. You send it, hey, would you turn FX to parameter 3 to the value 20, please? Yeah. And the only difference is that it's. Oh, yeah, I got confused for a second. Sorry, I was pausing. 65 is the device number. 31 is the parameter. This is actually similar to the other MS pedals, MSCD 70 that I know some of my Dutch guitarist friends have got. I wouldn't mind getting one of them. They look pretty cool, the stomp pedals, yeah. And so this is the thing that says, hey, this is the B1N. 31 is the MIDI command. Send the parameters like this, okay? Now, one of the first things I did, which is super kinky, because it's always, as you play with these things, how else can I gain information, yeah? Oh, there's one more thing I forgot to mention in this lot. Let me just look for it here. I apologize. Tone lib. So if you try and use the guitar lab that comes with the Zoom B1X, it doesn't seem to work with this pedal, but the tone lib does. So there's a community here, and you see he has other pedals, so he's already looked at some of the other issues. So the CD70 CDR and these things, yeah. So there's new discussions here. I'll look at those to see what people are saying. A lot of times it's sharing patches, not swearing patches. I'll do that as well, yeah. And how do you do this, yeah? I'm much more interested in the low-level control, yeah. So in the downloads, I think he has his ToneLib software. I think it runs on Mac and PC, and it's kind of free, but you can also join his forum and exchange patches. So I think it's a really, even if you have to pay some money, this software is worth it, and I don't get paid to say that, yeah. Ah, you can run on Android tablets. That's interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. I've been running on Windows 64-bit. I don't have a Mac. I've got Ubuntu. I should try that. I've got Ubuntu, and that actually would work just as well because that would have touchlib stuff. Yeah. Okay, but my plan is to run my software on a Raspberry Pi because they're cheap, they're easy. You can plug them into the back of a monitor, touchscreen monitor, and then you can use it to control stuff. So that's my plan. So that's the other piece of software. If you have one of these, have a look at the ToneLib. It's cool. And I did use that to try and reverse engineer some of the USB. I've made videos of how to do that before with P capture, USB P cap. So I won't cover that here. And it does less than the Zoom software. So somehow I think he must have worked out the FX in a different way because I cannot for the life of me work out how he's doing it. Yeah. And that would fit because people say that if they use Barsic's Barsic, here we are, this guy. If they use Barsic's ability to change the contents of the file and then reload the firmware, this ToneLib doesn't understand it. And that would make sense because it's not probing a catalog to say what's the content, yeah? So it'd be like remembering what's in your directory from 2 years ago in your file directory and coming back and then you've added more content. You just don't see it because you didn't look. You're using the 2-year-old reference, and that's what I think's going on. Anyway, back to what I'm doing. So what I did here was I said, hey guy, we see that there's the F052.065, so that's for this pedal. And then I said, all right, just basically go through 127 variables, 128 to be precise, 0 to 127, and turn it into hex and send it and see what happens. Oh, and by the way, tell me if any files are not empty. So when you send the string to the pedal in PC mode, because editor mode, PC mode, if it doesn't come back empty, perhaps it does something. So if we look for P underbar star here, you'll see that we have some strings that are worth looking at. So if I go into my software, I then use this to check on my other pedals, so Zoom pedal, and if I look for P underbar star here, you see I've written a slightly different version. So 1 in hex is 1 in decimal, 4 in hex is 4, 5 is 5, 7 is 7, E is 14, 29 hex is 41, 33 is 51. So if we compare, both have got a 1, both have got a 4, both have got a 5, both have got a 7, both have got a 14. 22, we don't have that on this pedal. We don't have it on this pedal. The 29, 41, there we are. So there's the 29, 41, yeah, so that's there. Then 43 doesn't exist on this pedal, does exist on this one. 51 is common to both. 33 and 33, I think, is the get current patch. 65, which is not on this pedal. So you see, I'm using techniques I learned on this one to try and learn about this, and things I learned to learn about that, and moving between the two. So they speak a similar language, not quite the same. I guess it's like the difference between Afrikaans and Dutch. It's got a root, but it doesn't quite sound the same, yeah, or Swiss German and German, yeah. So they have a common linkage, but not quite the same. So that's how I found out about some extra commands, and I'll be experimenting with them. So what can we, and then the next thing I did, I tried to decode what's happening in a patch. So if we look at this exercise FX param, this is quite kinky. I found that the base equalizer is a good setting to use because it has 8 parameters. So what we do, we turn the editor mode on, and then you see we say, hey guy, we put the BAGEQ in the first FX slot, everything else is blank. It doesn't matter actually, we make it a blank, and we send parameter 1 0, parameter 2 0, fx1 parameter 3 0, fx1 parameter 4 0, blah blah blah. So we basically zero it out. We create some files, and then as I work out the values, I change the range to make things a bit easier. But basically, we go through parameter, in this case 4 to 9, but it would typically be 1 to 9. And then we exercise an fx, in this case fx1. And then in the loop, you change 10 values. So it's like you take the dial, you move it along 1, enter, what's it say? You move it along 2, what's it say? Move it on to 3, what's it say? And we do this 10 times. So we turn the B1On seems to need to have the editor mode turned on more frequently. I've seen that in the literature, and I thought, nah, these guys are mad. But then I tried it without it. These guys are smart, yeah. So they are right. You seem to have to switch it on. It seems to forget. This get more data is something I found which seems to basically say drain the queue. I don't know if it's right, but it works for me in the engineering. And what it does is to clean out the cache, and then the next time you run the command, you get clean content. If you don't do this, you get maybe some extra content that was lying around, and then your decode becomes harder, yeah? So then we get the current patch, which we've doctored, and we've changed the parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3, parameter n, value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I've written a decoder, and as time goes on, the decoder gets better. That puts some value out. Then I change the value to the next value, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I put it into the same folder to look at it. Once I finish this, I put that particular exercise FX parameter to 0. Okay, and then I write some information out and I can see it. So that's just the result file is, why can't I see it? Base file underscore parameter, and base file is summary. So let's look at more of, I would say I do actually play the bass on this thing. I'm just not very good at it and I don't put it onto my thing, but it's a lovely pedal. So here you see I'm writing the stuff out, and at the end, I'll go to the end, I then do the summary. So this I know is the row in the sysex that seems to be related to the first FX. And for this FX BA equalizer, 30 is there for some reason. Don't know why. Wait a minute, I don't know why. Um, but when I modify, say, the first parameter, it's only these two values, what I would call index starting from 0, 3 and 4 that change, okay? And actually, what you can see is that this is 0, there's a 0. This is 1, well, it's 4. This is 2, well, it's 8. Oh, interesting. 2 4s are 8. This is C. Huh? Well, hexadecimal C is the same as 12. 3 4s are 12. Ah, 4 4s are 16. Why has it gone to 0? Ah, these two bytes go together. 1 0 0, and that is equivalent to 16. 10 is 16, yeah? And then we got 1 4 in hex. Well, 14 is 20. Well, 20 divided by 4 is 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, look, it's 5, yeah? It sounds complicated. If you're a mathematician like I am, it isn't. If you're a computing scientist, it shouldn't be too hard. If you're a musician, this is why we're trying to do this, to make it usable and turn it into something sensible. It's not about trying to be smart. It's just trying to be helpful to people and do something fun. And so that's how we decode it. I do the same with the others. And what this means is that I now have some idea of how to read the parameter values from the dump. I still got to work out what the FX parameters are. That I'm not able to get that at the minute, but I see in the stuff that G1On guy here did, sysex tones rather, he has some information already. He is not doing a transform, which I might explain in a minute. So it means that his work has got a little bit more complexity to it. Um, Not a problem, and it's not wrong. So here you see he's talking about 0 to 20. Well, I'm telling you it's 0 to 18. Well, that's because he's not decoding or processing. So there's some extra bytes in there that are used to process. And so that's why he's bigger, longer than me. But you see 20, well, that we're almost consistent, yeah. So what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 5 rows of the output are the FX parameters, yeah. And then you see what he's done here, and these will be in here somewhere. This 30 or whatever. Somehow it's going to be encoded, yeah. I don't know if we've got this FX. Have we got the EQ in here? Doesn't look like it. This is the one I got it for, the particle verb. That's really nice. So probably what I'll have to do later today is to play with some of these effects if I can find them and see if I can, say I put Great Muff, which is a great name, yeah. Can I see a 6 and a 1 in here somewhere, which wasn't there when I put the squeak on? And maybe I can work backwards to see some of these parameters. So I'll be leveraging his work, and I'm trying to give people credit because that's the kind of guy I am, yeah. Um, I am smart, but then again, smart people will work on it too. And it's about working together and collaborating. If the world did that, what a great place it would be. But instead, we compete, piss each other off, and manipulate stocks. Anyway, don't get me going there. So now we look here, okay? So we can turn the thing on and off. Now, what have we got? Get current patch here. Current bank number. So /current bank number will tell me what I'm on, yeah? That one says C04C. What's 4C? 4 16s is 64 and 12, 74, 76. H is the 7th, is it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Yeah, 7. No, 8. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, 80, whatever. I'm out by, oh, because it starts at 10. I'm out by 10, but it starts at 1, not at 0, yeah? So I think that's consistent. So the main thing is, for example, we can set the patch. Where do I do that? I've forgotten how to do it. Hell of a week at work. Get current patch, get patch. Well, let me see if I can find how I exercise my patches. Oh, load patch, yeah? /load patch 3. Yay! So that goes to A2, 0, 1, 2. Yeah, 3. I can load patch 23, which will be C, because, yeah, okay, so that makes sense. It was output 1. So wait a minute, I said it was 74. Yeah, that's where I was a minute ago, wasn't it? I was at energy. I don't know, making stuff up, yeah. So now we can load the patches. And this is happening from the computer, sending the MIDI down to the device. And this is actually standard MIDI. You can do this by putting an ordinary MIDI controller. You don't need any complexity for that. But now you can do kinky stuff. For example, we can say to it, FX MPN 1, 3, 2, and we would have changed the value there. And now it says edited in this top corner here. Now I haven't seen the value because I don't know how to get to that screen, but we've changed something, yeah. But now what's quite kinky, we can get current patch, I think it is. No, we did that, sorry. Give me a second. More exercise FX. So the sequence is we turn the editor on, get more data, oh, that's a Q. So we do this, editor on, and it seems that you need to do this quite a lot on this thing. It's almost like it forgets where it was. I don't know. We get more data, and in this case, I think nothing should come back here. Then we get the current patch here, and it's going to put that into a thing called current patch.bin. So that sends the 30, and this is the current batch as it comes back. So now what we do is we run this command I wrote, B1 patch, yeah, and we hit that. So let's make that come up, and when we hit that, it will decode it. So this is what I'm trying to say. This is the raw input that comes in, and this is what sysex tones is doing here. He reads this, and this is why he 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3. So if you look here, there's some sort of name, and there's this column of zeros there. They don't have to be 0, but they're a good spot. And so if we go back 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you've got this column here. Okay. And these are controlling, depending on what bit is set, whether you put a 1 at the top bit of the next 7 bytes or not. So the next 7 bytes, this decoding this tells you where to put a high bit in the respective byte position. So now what we've said is we say that the FX P1 is 20, P3 is 3, sorry, P2 is 3. So let's have a quick look. What did I change earlier? I changed 132. Let's think about it. FX1 parameter 3 should be 2. There. Okay. So now let's make it 10. And I don't know if this parameter can take 10, yeah? And it should say it's edited. So now we need to basically, yeah, it says it's edited. So you see how slow it is, yeah? So now we need to get the patch again. It should have changed. So now we decode it. And when we go up here, 3 is 10. Look. I hope that made sense, yeah? So I said to, hey, make parameter 3 of FX1 10. Okay. In this case, whatever that parameter is, don't know yet, it can take the value 10, so it does take it. If it was something that stopped at 5, we would hit 5. So let's just try that. Let's just send it 1,000, yeah. Now I don't think it can take 1,000, yeah. So now we need to get the patch again, and it says it's done it, and then we need to decode it, and 150. So let's now send that to 160, which still should do nothing, yeah, because we think 150 is the max. So we need to get it and decode it. Now, you see what I'm doing manually here? Guess what? I can tell the computer to do this whilst I'm asleep, and it walks over the space and looks at 150. So now let's hypothesize we can make it 140, yeah? So it hit a max at 150, I think you would agree. Can we make it 140? And this is how you do computer algorithms, yes, what I get paid to do for a job, yeah. Um, so get current patch, and now we say to it, what do you look like? 140. So you see, we can basically, for a given FX, we could say, okay, send minus 1,000. Oh, it's stuck at 0. Okay, we know 0 is the bottom range. Or, actually 0 will always be the bottom range of the MIDI. Sorry, I got that wrong. Um, it always will be, has to be. And then we can send values and see where it gets to a max. And all we know is it goes from 0 to 150. What we don't know is what that looks like on the display. With the B1X4, I found by accident that you could get that ASCII string, and then Mundrel wrote a parser for it. It's before I knew how to do this stuff, and well, I know how to do this stuff. It's before I knew how to do it for this particular machine, yeah. So now we can decode those ASCII values and turn them into the parameter values, which is super cool because a combination of what I'm doing here plus the other decode will get us not only the range of values but the display values as well. Now that's pretty exciting, yeah. So you see, we can control the patch. We can set what patch you want to look at. We can edit the parameter values. We can decode them. I'm not saying I'm perfect at the minute on this, but I'm close. So if we look at this B1On patch CPP, and I'll probably open I don't know whether to ask Munjo if I can put it on his thing somewhere or just to do it on another GitHub. But you see, this is basically his algorithm turned into C++, which I quite like, or I like Python as well. And you see the 0 to 5 is the patch numbers. So 18 is my magic number. When we look at sysex tones, he thinks 21 is the magic number because he hasn't unpacked the data. And actually, the key to this unpacking the data, because it's complicated enough with let me just make that wider. There is a symmetry here, yeah. So we're left shifting 8, right shifting 5 by A plus 1. So there is a sort of symmetry here, yeah, which is pretty neat. And then it turns out that the name is the last 11 bytes. The last byte is F7, and the last 10 bytes is the name, yeah. So now this will be what 5 18s is 90 plus 10, 100, and I think there's 134 bytes in it and 200. So there's about 32 bytes. I don't know what they do at the minute. And gradually, combination of looking at what sysex tones did and playing with stuff, hopefully I'll be able to work out what those extra bytes do, and then I'll be good. So that's what I'm up to at the minute. Is there anything else I need to show you about what I'm doing? And a lot of this will work on these other pedals. Now, the format of the dump is almost certainly going to be different, but probably not that different. If you buy a car and you buy the next generation, 90% of the car's the same. The bodywork changes to make you think you've got something new, maybe a slight upgrade because of a bug that's found, but mostly it remains the same. Okay, and that is likely to happen on these pedals because Barzik and Munswell found that they could take the pedal data of an FX and load it into a different pedal, and in many cases it worked. Yeah. This sysex tones, not sysex tones, this tonelib, I think I already said this, it doesn't seem to fully understand when you modify the firmware, yeah. So what I'm doing is trying to get it to work generically. So again, I can't delete an FX at the minute. I've got to find what the FX ID is. Oh, I can turn an FX on and off, I think. Let's have a look at that. More FX on off. Yeah, it looks like I've done that. So dot slash, maybe make that a bit smaller. That's what she said. Dot slash fx m on off, and I want to turn fx1 off. And it said something's happened, yeah. And I want to turn fx2 off, yeah. And I want to turn fx3 off, yeah. And oh yeah, something happened on the screen now. I'm sorry, I can't get a very good image at the minute, but something happened there. Now you see there's this delete bin and that. Well, on the other pedal, what I found is ways of rotating the chain effects and that, and I haven't quite got there yet. Somewhere I wrote it up on one of these well, I haven't quite got there yet, but I will play with this a bit more. So I'll stop here because I'm just rambling now. I'm sorry about that. I would say the sound of this pedal is beautiful, yeah, particularly the particle reverbs, if that's your thing, yeah, ambient stuff. And it's like a poor man's Strymon, £50, 40 odd pounds I got this second hand, yeah. I really appreciate the guy that sold it for that price because maybe he didn't quite know what he was selling. But my intention was not to trick him, it was an open market, yeah. My intention was to get a pedal to have a bit more fun and try and give back to the community so they can have some more fun with their pedals. So I'm about to sign off. I'm going to play my bass. I would put some more on there, but I was worried about if I'm playing stuff, if I have to pay royalties. And mostly I just do experimental church stuff, so there's nothing that interesting to people there. But anyway, I will go and play with my bass. Have a great weekend. If you want to know more about what I'm doing, feel free to drop me a line, and I'll perhaps open up a GitHub so we can collaborate. If you think, my God, you moron, don't you understand, blah blah blah, yeah, please tell me I'm a moron and tell me what I don't understand. That'd be cool. Okay, so thank you for your time and bye bye.